Welcome back to part 2. This is where we start to talk about the backlash of what went on with that article. So let's just jump right back in and continue on, shall we? Let's go. Now, before we move on, I just want you guys to know that they did a social media promotion and they posted, deleted, and reposted this article. Let me show you just so you're aware. The first post, it says starring Meghan Markle. So this was deleted and the new one was put on. And as you can see, it says Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex. So she wanted to make sure her title was used. Remember, she wants to be linked, not ranked. And then also, one cover of the magazine has one person on the front. And this is what the actual cover of the magazine looks like. So to see Meghan Markle, you have to flip the magazine to the back. Now, here's the next thing that came out from the article. Now, according to Meghan, Harry said the following to her. I lost my dad in this process. It doesn't have to be the same for them as it was for me, but that's his decision. That statement by Meghan, who supposedly claims that her privacy is constantly being invaded, that she would take something that Harry told her that's supposed to be so private and put it in the media, yeah, and now that's caused a problem. Because Meghan, who doesn't use the media, is now using Omid Scobie, who told a UK court he doesn't cooperate with Meghan Markle, to clarify an alleged misunderstanding in the muddled, badly written, mistake-riddled Markle PR piece, which is true. Richard Eden even pointed out that the misleading claims made by Meghan are very worrying because Omid Scobie is tweeting one of them. Omid retweeted her claim about somebody calling her child the N-word, even though there's no proof of that ever happening. At one point in the interview, Meghan made what appears to be a threat about how she never had to sign anything that restricts her from talking, and she can speak or not speak. And, I have a lot to say until I don't. Well, guess what Omid did? Omid tweeted about that too, trying to clarify Meghan's statements, trying to lower the impact of the interview. Omid even came out to try to change the narrative, saying that when Meghan was talking about the loss of her father, she was talking about her own father, not Prince Charles. So everything that Meghan said that she then realized didn't look good, she tried to use Omid to fix the narrative. And of course, people knew exactly what she was doing. They were using Omid to make retractions. In the end, this was nothing but another puff piece and her taking yet another swipe at the royal family. That's all this was. So back when this article came out, my initial thought process was she's jealous of William and Catherine. She's obsessed with the royal family. She still is. There were so many other topics she could have covered in this interview, but in every interview and in everything she does, it always comes back to the same thing. The royal family was mean to me. I believe Meghan's pathological, and she believes if she tells the same lie enough, she'll believe it, and you will too. A lot of articles came out pointing out that Meghan has no original thoughts, and she's constantly in the same mainstream media that she claims that she hates. Meghan Markle wanted to be the people's princess, and instead you ended up with the petulant princess. I hate to point this out to you guys. She's been out of the royal family twice as long as she was even in. So it was after the Cut article came out that people were saying the royal family really needs to now do something with her. I don't know what the royal family's going to do with her, but people are basically, after the article, they were calling her a tosser. Now, another odd thing that happened during the article, she apparently made some guttural noises at the woman that was interviewing her and expected her to figure out what she was saying. So this article got everybody talking about the fact that basically Harry is gutless, can't stand up to his wife, and he appears to be, mentally ill. This is what happened after the article initially came out. So the piece came out and it made Meghan look, a little crazy. So what was the next thing that happened? Well, it appears that the Cut magazine led the journalist who wrote it to be placed on unpaid leave. She put out a tweet. The writer did. Now, this tweet came out the day after all the negative media frenzy because of the interview that Meghan decided to give. And we also know that 1 week after it was published, the Queen passed away. And there was a lot of anti-Sussex vitriol directed at Meghan because of the poorly timed return to the spotlight. She was aware that the Queen had bone cancer. She and Harry were aware what was going on with the Queen. So if it is true that Meghan had a hand in what happened to Miss Davis, then she basically helped take a woman of color who was doing her job and made her go on the unemployment line. Interesting. Now, people did reach out to Miss Davis for comment and she didn't respond. And then Meghan did a Variety interview and she took a dig at the story, saying that the piece was supposed to be about her Spotify Archetypes podcast, that it was intended to support archetypes and focus on the projects. And she said, and I'm quoting, "I've had some time to reflect on it. Part of me is just really trusting and open. That's how I move in the world. And I have to remember that I don't ever want to become so jaded that a piece of me goes away. So despite any of those things, onward, I can survive it." This was damage control and nothing but. And so U.S. journalist Brooke Hammerling spoke out then on the criticism that Meghan put out of how the cut article was written. And you guys can freeze the screen and read it for yourself. Listen, any way you look at it, Meghan talked about being a working royal and how constrained she felt by the royal protocols and the media attention. She slammed the royal family at every turn. She brought up her mental health issues again. I mean, this was just another Oprah interview wine fest. In the meantime, Meghan continues to cold-play Diana at every opportunity for her husband. She still tells him that she's in touch with Diana and tries to mentally mess with him. This is something she's been doing for a long time. Remember, she told everybody that she was dressing like Diana because the palace made her. But obviously, since she's left the royal family, she continues to take all of her inspiration and her outfits from Diana. Now, that brings us up to the articles that have just come out. The whole world is aware that Cut magazine was her go-to magazine until she switched over to Variety and People magazine. Maybe they're upset that she's cut them off because now they appear to have turned against her. They just put out an article that says that her projects keep flopping. This is a left-leaning magazine who appears to be following other U.S. outlets now. Keep in mind that even The Guardian, which is a massive pro-Sussex publication, is saying that the Polo show is going to fall into obscurity. This is the same magazine that called King Charles a big fussy baby and a jerk when he walked behind Queen Elizabeth's coffin at her funeral. Now, I've told you guys before, I am a massive believer in karma. I really believe in karma, and I have a feeling that that's what's going on here, big time. Oh my God. All right, let's move on to our recipe for today. All right, we're going to make crock pot enchiladas. These are really good. So what I did was I put 2 huge frozen chicken breasts in the bottom of the crock pot, and then I put in 2 onions. Then I dumped the following ingredients. They wanted roasted corn, but I didn't have any, so I drained a can of corn, dumped that on top. Then I took the garlic and I dumped like 2 spoonfuls in. You guys know how much I just love my garlic. Then I poured a whole can of green chili enchilada sauce on top of everything. Now, the next ingredient was a can of rinsed black beans, but I hate black beans, so I left them out. And the next thing you add is chicken broth. Then you need a teaspoon of cumin, a teaspoon of chili powder, a half a teaspoon of garlic powder, and half a teaspoon of salt. Now, next up, they wanted a small can of green chilies, and I didn't have any, but I had the rotel, which is the diced tomatoes with the green chilies, so I dumped that in, and then I decided just to add a can of diced tomatoes, even though that wasn't part of the original recipe. Then, of course, I plugged in the crock pot, covered it, and I let it sit on high for 3 hours. After 3 hours, the chicken was no longer frozen, and I went in and I chopped it up, and then I put the top back on the crock pot, and I continued to cook it for another 2 hours. So it cooked for a total of 5 hours. Just as an FYI, the tool you're looking at, I got at Walmart for about like $3 or $4. Best chopping tool I ever had for chicken and meat. When it was done, I pulled it out with tongs and I put it on one of these shells. Now, the chicken enchiladas itself Believe it or not, you get 5 servings out of that whole crock pot, and each serving is only 190 calories. So I put some low-fat cream cheese, some low-fat shredded cheddar cheese, and of course I used one of these shells, and there was my dinner. So have fun making that. It's really delicious. And of course, I'll put the recipe on the community page. All right, you guys. Now, don't forget, my father's book is up for sale. The link is down in the description box, along with the links to my Twitter, my Gettr, my Rumble, my email, my currently paused Patreon, and my Amazon wish list, as well as a physical address. For those of you who've donated to my coffee fund, thank you so much. Don't forget to hit the like, the subscribe, and the up button, the thumbs up button. And as always, have a great day.